Welcome to the NPTE Final Frontier podcast, helping one student at a time. Visit NPTEFF.com to enroll today so you can pass tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us here on the NPTE Final Frontier podcast. My name is Emily.
And my name is David. Today, we will be interviewing Dr. Monique Caruth, also going by Mo. Mo is a home health PT in Maryland and founder of Dr. Monique Caruth, LLC. Mo is also one of the hosts of the Alex and Mo podcast alongside Dr. Alex Altamiranda, which airs every Tuesday live at 8 p.m. EST over on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
All right. And in addition to all of that, Mo serves a variety of different positions. She is secretary of the APTA Home Health Academy, secretary of the APTA Maryland Board, the Southern District Delegate for APTA Maryland, on the DEI committee member and board liaison for APTA Maryland, and is an APTA media spokesperson. So it is absolutely wonderful to see how involved Mo is within these different boards and legislation. And I urge our listeners, please get more involved. Our voices matter, and we are what's going to make our difference for the future of our profession. So use this as a little motivation and encouragement to sign up for a committee, sign up for a board, and get more involved just like Mo.
Mo has also received Bachelor's of Science in Health Science, MPT, and a DPT degree from Howard University in Washington, D.C., and hails from the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Mo. How are you?
I am well, and David and Emily, it is a pleasure to finally be on your podcast. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yes, of course. We've been loving and hoping to have you on. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Why did you choose to become a physical therapist?
Wow. Well, it first started from watching a cricket match. I know a lot of Americans do not know anything about cricket, but it's one of my favorite sports from back at home. At the age of 13, I was looking at the game with my dad in our living room, and one of my favorite Indian players, Sachin Tendulkar, got injured, and running out on the field was what they said physiotherapist. I've never heard of the word before, but he ran out with a big bag. He was there working with him for a few minutes, and up stood Sachin, and he went on to score a century. And I told my dad, this is what I wanted to do. He looked at me like I was crazy. But the time, it was not a profession that was popular back in the island. So most people usually get into law or engineering or became a medical doctor. So I had to do a lot of my own research. Started off looking at the Britannica Encyclopedia to find out what a physiotherapist was. Again, everybody thought I was crazy. At the time, I found out that the only university in the Caribbean that offered anything related to physiotherapy was University of West Indies, Mona in Jamaica. But at the time, it was just an associate's degree, and I knew I wanted more. So I explored other options for Commonwealth countries, such as Canada and England. We visited Canada later on, and by the time it was August, it was very cold, and I was like, nope, this is not going to be it.
I'm with you. I am with you. I'm totally, keep me away from that cold.
And I looked at England, and I was like, you know what? I don't know. I don't like the weather in England. It looks just dreary and cold, and I'll probably be depressed, and it will be further away from my family. Believe it or not, I'd never been to the US before. And in 1996, I got the opportunity to visit the US when the Olympics was in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first time here, and it was the summer, and it was the South. I was under the crazy assumption that everywhere in the US was experiencing that type of weather. since I wasn't aware of the Four Seasons. But I finally decided that I was gonna take the SAT and try to use my athletic abilities to get a scholarship since my parents couldn't afford it. And I ended up choosing colleges in the US, and that's how I ended up here in 1999 to pursue a degree in physiotherapy.
That's great. So when you go to the nitty gritty, it all started with cricket.
It all started with cricket, sports.
I
My ambition was to be a sports physiotherapist. I wanted nothing to do with home health. I wanted nothing to do with acute rehab or subacute rehab. I went in with the intention of getting into sports medicine and being a sports physiotherapist. And here it is, 20 something years later. I am
That's
running
exactly
an
how
agency.
that's exactly how I was too. I wanted to be a sports PT. I started out as an athletic trainer. Long
Mhm.
story short, I ended up in the hospital with neuro patients, which is not where I thought I would be, but I love it. So it just shows,
Yeah.
how much we can do with our profession. So
so
now
Yes.
that
Yeah.
how did you end up with home health then? After all of that, how did you end up with home health?
Well,
Because
me
you're
and my
you're a
big mouth.
superstar.
Me and my big mouth in college. When I finally got to grad school, one of my professor who taught kinesiology, we were getting ready to select our clinical rotations, and I told him I didn't want any hospitals or anything like that. I just wanted outpatient clinics for all of my clinicals because I had no intention of doing anything else, no peds, nothing. And he told me I was going to make a big mistake. And I was like, I don't think so, bro. But um, apparently he got into the ear of my advisor, who deliberately assigned me clinical rotations at Hopkins to do acute rehab and a lot of hospitals. I only got one outpatient rehab clinical rotation of my time at Howard. And it was a blessing in disguise because I got to see that physical therapy was a lot more than just sports and orthopedics. And it gave me the experience to work with patients that I could actually see them come from little to nothing and progress to, like, it was actually like miracles, seeing miracles happen. And I was like, this is probably where I should be. Truth be told, after I graduated, I did end up in an outpatient clinic. But I quickly got bored, and I just knew I needed to try something different. So I tried a different setting. I tried sniff, didn't work out. It was a little bit too slow for me. So someone suggested that I do home health PRN. And I did. And I was like, wow, one-on-one interaction. I can get to talk to people, joke. I like to make funny stories up, and it was great. And I was like, you know what? Besides the hospital, for some people, this is the first line of admission for physical therapy. So I do have the chance to show people that physical therapy matters. And I was like, okay, let me give this a try. At the time, I had only my master's in physical therapy.
Mhm.
So as I started building up a clientele, I was like, you know what? This is an opportunity here. So I decided to resign my work at the outpatient clinic and go back to school to get the DPT while still seeing home health patients. And lo and behold, that's how Dr. Monique Caruth LLC started.
That's incredible. And you have an incredible logo as well. I love the initials with the crown on, really,
Yep.
it's a shield. It's beautiful. It's so
Thank you.
powerful. It's so powerful too.
Well, there's a lot of spiritual meaning behind being in the shield and the armor. So it's protection, guidance, and to let me know that there's always someone guiding me, and I always have to practice being the best and reflecting the best. So
Love it.
I love
Awesome.
to hear about your journey from, even deciding you wanted to become a physical therapist, initially thinking you wanted sports, to then all the way getting to home care. I just love to hear how many different trial and error processes you went through to get to where you are today. But that just shows for all of our listeners how it's not always just such a clear cut, straight path. There are so many different ways to get to where you need to be. And who even knows if where we are now is the end? We can still continue to change and evolve and adapt. And I love that. So now that we know a little bit about why you became a physical therapist, talk to us about what made you decide to start the podcast and what are your goals of the podcast with your listeners?
So, you have a good reach with patients, but with a podcast, you get to mentor, you get to show people a different side of just physical therapy. As I evolve as a person, I realized that in the beginning, going from a student into a new grad, my world revolve around being a physical therapist, but there's more to being a physical therapist. I also wanted people to know about the trials and errors, and it's not like an overnight success. It took, I became licensed in 2008. It's now 2023. So it took a while. And Alex and I, we met on Twitter. And since we've met, we've had a really good connection. Met at a couple, well, we actually met in person for the first time at CSM in Anaheim. And we talked about doing a podcast like way back then, but I never had the time. But we shared a similar journey because he's now in home health. But his part was from residency in sports into home health, also teaching. Mine was a little bit different. And we just felt that the younger generation needed to know that their trials, you have to do the hard work, you have to be patient, you have to be vulnerable. A lot of people, we realized, didn't really know how to network, and the podcast gave us that platform to do that.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't know about you guys, but even for me outside of the realm of physical therapy, when I need a question answered or if I need something to listen to, these days I search for podcasts regarding what I need because it's such quick information. I can listen to it while driving, while I'm walking, exercising. So I'm even using them when I'm not on the podcast for my own personal benefit. So I think it's such a great way, like you said, to target such a wider audience and, get your voice heard.
Yes, it is, definitely.
So what is one thing you feel could be done to make the physical therapy profession better?
One thing. Oh, wow.
I know it's so hard to narrow it down to one.
That's a big ask. I think we just need to reframe our mindset to think less theoretical and become more practical or more human, because we have to be able to reach people emotionally for them to buy into getting physical therapy. You can't just like, hey, I have this or I'm this and you need to do that. People are visual buyers, and we have to show them that we have a value to present to them. And the only way we can do that is if we become more human or more empathetic.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like from your personal experiences, like you said, switching to home care for you, that made that possible for you. Like you said, you got more one-on-one attention. You could be yourself. You could make your jokes, tell your stories. It seemed like for you, you were able to become more personable with your patients in your home care environment.
Yes. And with home health as well, you get to see so much more of the patient and what motivates them than them coming into your environment because they already come in guarded. So actually, it made me a better human because there are a lot of social issues that I never considered when I treated a patient in the outpatient setting. But going into their home, seeing how they interact with their caregivers, if they have any, the struggles they have with finding proper nutrition and transportation, you get to see all of that. They're most vulnerable and they're most comfortable. So It also made me start speaking more in layman's term because, at first you come out as a new grad, you're using gait, you're using all those other words that patients have no idea what you're talking about. So it brings you down another level that you could communicate better with the patient. So
Yeah,
I
think
completely
that's
agree.
great.
I've never thought of it like that. That's such a good perspective. Now that you've given us a piece of advice for what can make the PT profession better, what is one piece of advice you would specifically give to physical therapy students?
whew, okay. Um uh Much ado about nothing. A lot of us work ourselves up about getting perfect grades or getting A's and all that stuff. Nobody cares at the end of the day if you have a 3.8, 3.9, 4.0 GPA. Once you graduate and you pass the MPTE, it doesn't matter if it's on the first try. I did not pass on my first try. Tried again second. Well, I was blown away that I didn't pass the first time. I was like, what the heck? um, yeah,
You're
that
like,
one.
wait, let me see that score
I was
again.
shook. I was shook. So then I was like, oh, maybe it was just like one question or two questions. I was like, because then we could sign up as quickly as possible, right?
Mhm.
So I just went back, took it like no preparation, came back, failed grade. I was like, no, something is just off. But it's crazy because one of my professors, she was like, you know the stuff, something's not right. So maybe you need to take an exam prep. I was like, I'm studying, I'm good. I don't care about the exam prep. But they did sign us up for a program like this. I believe it was Final Frontier. So I think we did like a boot camp for
Mhm.
3 or 4 days, if I'm not mistaken. And I took the exam the next week and I passed. And long story short, I was like, you know what? All this time I've been fighting up for the past like 3 years, trying to get like the perfect grade and graduate. Nobody cared after. As long as you got the license, as long as you brought something to the table at the place that you're working, that's all that matters. So
Yep.
Yeah.
don't stress yourself out trying to get, a 4.0 or 3.8. Just make sure you get above C so you could get through PT school
Yeah.
and,
And
pass the exam.
I totally hear you. I mean, it took me a few attempts as well, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I'm very strong with break the stigma.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to break that stigma where people don't really understand, students don't understand how many people out there really do need multiple attempts to pass that examination, and that it is normal and it is okay that there are many
And
people out there that haven't.
and it taught me a valuable lesson in being patient and appreciating the license more when I finally got it. It took me down a notch in terms of my cockiness and my arrogance. So I needed that.
Yeah, it
So,
also shows you really what you're made of on the inside. It really shows you a
yes.
lot,
Yes, it does. It does.
you know.
So
So now we're gonna hit you with a surprise question that is
sure.
totally not PT related at all.
Hey, maybe it could be.
It
You
could be.
never know. It's a
Hey,
surprise.
It could be.
I'm in home health. Anything can happen any given day.
All right. So we came across seeing that you were a movie enthusiast.
Oh yeah.
That being said, what
Uh-huh.
is your favorite movie and why?
I hope I don't disappoint you guys and your listeners, but my favorite movie of all time is The Notebook.
Good choice.
Respectful. Yes. There's no shame in that. That is a good movie. I will go on the record on the recording saying The Notebook is a good movie.
That's a guilty pleasure movie. That's a good movie.
Yes. I would watch it often. I would cry every time I watch it because it's a beautiful love story, and because I'm in home health, the significance of it plays even more importance to me. So
Yeah,
but following up that, I love John Wick. I was like, man, he could use a pencil to kill people. But
I love how we're going from The Notebook to John Wick.
I know. See, I'm
It's
crazy.
called balance. It's called balance.
But I love the Notebook and I love the John Wick series. So
I agree with you. John Wick
Yeah.
is just incredible, and Keanu Reeves is just he's on
Yeah.
fire.
I can't wait for 4. I can't wait for 4.
I know, same here. Emily, while I got you on the hot seat, what's your favorite movie, Emily?
I knew you were just going to ask me that. Oh my gosh. I'm getting stressed out even just thinking about this. Honestly, can I pick like a grouping of movies? I'm a big Harry Potter fan.
Oh
Okay,
my
there you go.
gosh.
I'm a Harry Potter girl, but I'm also a Marvel girl.
Okay.
But I also, I don't know. What about you, David?
Oh, for me, so I feel like it depends on the month, where every single time somebody asks me, I always change my answer, but
Mhm.
somehow I always end up with Braveheart.
Braveheart. Okay, not a bad movie. That's not a
I
bad movie.
I love just the entire aspect of the guy,
Mhm.
just that revenge, very similar to John Wick, getting the revenge and everything, but I always go with Braveheart. I think that's one of my favorites.
But did he
and
kill them with a pencil?
no, that is very true. That is true, very true. I may have to switch over to John Wick now.
All right, Mo. So thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast today. But before we stop the podcast, you have to tell our listeners, how can they get in touch with you? How can they find you on social media? What should they look out for?
All right. So on Instagram and Twitter, my handle is at Dr. Monique Caruth. I think it's the same on Facebook. Definitely can't remember. And we are also at the Alexa Moore podcast on YouTube and on Instagram and Twitter as well too.
Awesome. All right. And I would love to end this episode with a quote from Mo on one of their recent posts. Some people are going to reject you just because you are shining too bright for them. But you know what? Keep shining, keep glowing, and shine anyway. And warriors, I absolutely love this quote. No matter what you are faced with, never forget to keep shining. You are powerful, you are strong, you are a final frontier warrior, and you will pass.
Amen.
Yes.
I agree.
Love it. Well, thank you very much for listening. For more information on NPTE Final Frontier, please visit npteff.com. You can also check us out over on our social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Till next time, have a great day and a powerful tomorrow.